been hired for a job at the mall beginning in 2 weeks. Joe immediately contacts Transit Services of Frederick County for information on the public transportation system. The transit office sends him all of the bus information. Since Joe has told Transit he has a disability, Transit also sends an application for reduced fare. Joe is now looking over the information. The first thing Joe does is to fill out the application for Disabled Reduced Fare Identification Card for persons with disabilities, includes a medical certification of disability, and sends it back to Transit. This will allow Joe to ride the bus for less money. Transit issues Joe an ID card that he will take with him every time he is using the bus. Joe must find a route to his job at the mall. Joe unfolds the ride guide and looks for bus routes near where he lives at Creekside Apartments and routes near his job. He notices a yellow-colored route called Route 50 West End Connector from his apartment and a brown-colored route called Route 20 FSK Mall Connector to the mall. Joe realizes that since the route colors are different, he must transfer at Transit Center, which is the major transfer point to connect to the different routes. Joe begins to write his travel plan on a notepad. This is a piece of paper he can keep with him so he doesn't get confused or lost. It is easier to determine his plan if he plans his route backward, from the time he must be at his job to when he must get up in the morning. Joe's job begins at 10 a.m. Joe sees on the Monday through Friday time schedule for his route from the Transit Center to the mall that in order to be to work on time, he must ride a route that puts him on the bus that gets to the mall at 9:50. This will give him 10 minutes to get to work. Joe finds the Transit Center on the same Monday to Friday schedule and sees that he must take the Route 20 bus from the Transit Center at 9:15 a.m. Next, Joe looks at the Route 50 route he must take from his apartment to the Transit Center. In order to be at the Transit Center to take the 9:15 bus to work, he must take the bus from his home that will arrive at the Transit Center at 9:10 a.m. That means Joe must catch the bus from the bus stop marked as Park Ridge Drive at Creekside at 8:45 a.m. The travel portion of Joe's plan is now complete. It is now the night before Joe begins work. He gets necessities ready for his bus trip to work tomorrow. Joe makes sure he has his transit ID card, exact change, a coat, a hat, and an umbrella. He also takes a backpack in case he buys something at the mall. The guide suggests that Joe be at the bus stop 5 minutes before the bus is scheduled to arrive. That means Joe must be at the bus stop at 8:40. Joe decides he needs to leave his house at 8:25 to get to the bus stop by 8:40. He sets his alarm clock for 1 hour before he must be at the bus stop, so he sets his alarm clock for 7:40. Joe also counts his money. The fare, or cost to ride the bus, for Joe is 55 cents. Joe knows that he must have the exact amount of money needed. The bus driver will not give him change. He looks over his coins and finds 2 quarters and 1 nickel. This is the amount of money he will give the bus driver. Joe's first day of work has arrived. He got up when the alarm went off, took a shower, put on his clothes for work, and ate a good breakfast. Before he leaves to get to the bus stop, he takes one last look to make sure he has everything he needs for the bus ride: his coat, hat, umbrella, backpack, apartment keys, route plan, ID, and money. Joe arrives at the bus stop about 5 minutes before the bus is scheduled to arrive. The bus arrives as scheduled to pick up Joe and others waiting at the bus stop. The bus driver deploys the wheelchair ramp, and Joe backs his wheelchair onto the bus. Joe asks for a transfer ticket, as he knows he will change buses at the Transit Center. The bus driver then secures Joe's wheelchair inside the bus by putting the wheelchair in a securement location and securing the frame of the wheelchair using a 4-point device with 2 front and 2 rear attachment points. There is also a lap belt and shoulder belt the bus driver latches to secure Joe. The bus driver then hands Joe his transfer ticket. Joe shows his reduced fare ID card and hands the driver his 55 cents. Joe and the other passengers are not allowed to drink, eat, smoke, or chew during the bus ride. They are not allowed to socialize with the bus driver, as the driver must pay attention to the road. Offensive, abusive, or disorderly behavior is not tolerated. Joe is responsible for keeping his personal items with him at all times. Joe arrives at the Transit Center at the time designated on the schedule. He checks to make sure he still has his backpack before he leaves the bus. Joe waits only a few minutes for the next bus to pick him up and take him to the mall for his job. Because Joe has received a transfer ticket, he does not have to pay again. He hands the transfer ticket to the driver. Joe is on his way to his first day at his new job. Congratulations, Joe! Michael and his companion dog Samson live 2 blocks from the transit center. Michael plans to attend an employment seminar offered by the local Business and Employment Center. This one-stop center brings together a host of public organizations dedicated to meeting the employment needs of people and businesses in the local community. Michael has contacted the transit office the day before he is scheduled to attend the seminar to request a deviation directly to the Business and Employment Center, located at 5340 Spectrum Drive in the office park behind the FSK Mall. There is no designated stop at the center. The closest stop is nearby on Spectrum Drive, on the Route 20 FSK Mall connector route. However, there are no sidewalks in the area. The lack of sidewalks makes it unsafe for Michael to walk from the closest stop. Therefore, Michael's trip is eligible for a route deviation. The Route 20 connector provides deviated fixed route service within 3/4 of a mile of the designated route if the rider contacts transit with 24-hour advance notice. Michael is a regular rider of the transit system. In fact, he occasionally rides the MARC train to Washington, D.C. to research job opportunities. He has his ID card for reduced fare and has purchased a 10-trip punch ticket so he does not have to count money each time he takes the bus. Michael and Samson are waiting at the transit center for the Route 20 bus. When the bus arrives, the bus driver uses the kneeling feature of the bus to make it easier for Michael and Samson to enter the bus. Michael asks the bus driver if this is the route that will take him to the FSK Mall. He also informs the bus driver that he called the transit office yesterday to request a deviation to the Business and Employment Center. The bus driver confirms that Michael has the right bus and welcomes him aboard. Michael hands the driver his 10-punch ticket and the $1 additional fee for using the deviated fixed route service. The bus driver places another punch in Michael's ticket and takes the $1. The bus driver announces Michael's stop. Michael and Samson get off the bus at the front door of the Business and Employment Center in plenty of time for his seminar. Michael has made similar arrangements for deviated fixed route service back to the transit center 2 hours later. He will again get his ticket punched and present a $1 bill to the bus driver. Steve lives in Emmitsburg and owns a business in downtown Frederick. Steve also has a service dog, Andy, that travels with him. Steve uses the Emmitsburg commuter shuttle to Frederick. He also uses the fixed route bus system to get to his appointments around the city. Because Steve uses public transportation to visit clients throughout his workday, he has purchased a monthly pass, good from the first through the last day of the month, that allows him to ride as often as he wants for one price. Steve has a neighbor drop him off at the DePaul Street stop in Emmitsburg every morning at 7 a.m. He takes the 705 shuttle to the transit center, where he transfers to the Route 30 Fredericktown Mall connector bus. This route travels along North Market Street and will drop him off at Market and 6th Street, close to his office. Safety is always an important part of traveling. Steve is using good safety procedures by traveling down the middle of the sidewalk, avoiding bushes, doorways, and shortcuts through alleys. He is also staying in the best lit area of the sidewalk. He knows his destination and safe places in between. Steve is prepared for safe travel. Road to Travel Independence highlights various forms of public transportation offered by Transit Services of Frederick County. These services allow everyone the independence to pursue employment and leisure opportunities in Frederick County.